Anything? Hello, everybody. My name is the Grinch. Excuse me. And I'm going to read a story today because I think the Grinch is really silly, and I'm going to make fun of him as we read the story. So everybody pay attention, and we will read the book and maybe even have the cupcakes, right? Okay, are you ready?
Yep. We're gonna be pictures.
Yeah, I'll show the pictures. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot. But the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. He was stuck up. The Grinch hated Christmas all Christmas season. Now, please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight. But I think that the most likely reason of all has been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve, hating the Who's, staring down from this cave with a sour, grinchy frown. All the warm lighted windows below in their town, for he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging up mistletoe wreath. And there, hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer, "Tomorrow is Christmas. It's bright up here." Then the growling and the Grinch fingers nervously drumming. "I must find some way to stop this Christmas from coming." For tomorrow he knew. See him in his cave? At the dump. Mercy, all the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early. They'd rush to their toys. And then, oh, the noise. It's just noisy. It sounds like our house. That's one thing he hated. The noise. Do y'all make noise at home? Right. Especially noisy. Then the Who's, young and old, would sit down at a feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast. They would eat the roast beast. They would feast on Who pudding and rare roast beast, which was something the Grinch could stand at the least. I'm a vegetarian. And then they'll do something he liked least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together. The Christmas bells are ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, and the Who's would start singing. Would they sing? They'd sing, and sing. The more the Grinch thought of the Who Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 43 years I put up with this now, I must stop Christmas from coming. But how? Then he had an idea. His brain was working that day. An awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do. The Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. And he chuckled, then a great Grinch trick with the coat and his hat. I look just like, said Nick. All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around, but since reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. But that didn't stop the old Grinch. No, the Grinch simply said, if I can't find the reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he called the dog Max. Poor Max. Then he took some red thread and he tied a big horn on the top of his head. Poor Max.
Cool, Max.
I bet he had a headache. What you think?
I was wondering
gathered some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he hitched up old Max. Then the Grinch said, "Giddy up!" and the sleigh started down toward the homes where the Who's lay a snooze in their town.
What? There's no color. What?
And their windows were dark, quite snow filled the air. All the Who's were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first little house in the square, this is the stop number one, the old Grinch hissed, and he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. Then he slid down the chimney, a rare tight pinch. Ouch! But if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once for a moment or two, and then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue with a little Who stockings all clung in a row. These stockings, he grinned, are the first things to go. Poor Grinch, he's a sad little man. Then he slithered and he slunk. He's also part snake. Then a smile came on most unpleasant. Around the whole room he took every present. Pop guns and bicycles, roller skates and drums, checkerboards and tricycles and popcorns and plums. Did you ever get plums for Christmas?
Yes.
Yes. Auntie?
Yes. I do.
I'd much rather have candy.
Yeah.
Okay, and he stuffed them in bags. Then the Grinch very nimbly stuffed all the bags one by one up the chimney. See that? Yep. Sit. Okay. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beast. He cleaned out that icebox as quick as a flash. Why, that Grinch even took the last can of hash. Then he stuffed all the food in the chimney with glee, and now, grin the Grinch, I will stuff up the tree. Then the Grinch grabbed the tree and he started to shove. Then you heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. He turned fast around and he saw a small Who. Little Cindy Lou Who, who could be no more than
Two.
The Grinch had been caught by the tiny Who daughter, who got out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said, "Santa Claus, why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why?" But you know the old Grinch was smart and so slick. He thought of a lie and he thought of one quick. "Why, my sweet little tot," said the fake Santa Claus lied. He's not very nice. "There's a light on the tree that won't light on one side. So I'm taking it home for the workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up here and I'll bring it back here."
Yeah.
And his fibs fooled the child. Then he patted her head and got her a drink and sent her off to bed. Go away.
Go away, please.
Then Cindy Lou went to bed with her cup. He went to the chimney and stuffed the tree up.
Oh.
Then the last thing he took was the log on the fire. Then he went up the chimney himself, the old liar. On their walls he left nothing, and hooks and some wire. And one speck of food he left in the house was the crumb that was even too small for a mouse. See the mouse?
Uh-huh. No, I think he's right
Then he saw the same thing. Then he did the same thing to the other Who's houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Who's mouses. No. Yeah, but it doesn't rhyme, does it? It was 1:15 dawn. All the Who's still in bed, all the Who's still a snooze when he packed up the sled. Packed it up with presents, the ribbons, the wrappings, the tags and the tinsel, the trimmings and the trappings. That must have been a really big bag.
Yes, it would.
Then thousands of feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip-top to dump it. Pooh-pooh to the Who's. He was Grinchish by humming. There's finding out how that Christmas is not coming. They're going to wake up, I know that's what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open a few minutes or two, and then the Who's down in Whoville will all cry, boo-hoo.
Yes, it will.
It's a noise. Grin the Grinch. That's it. Oh, I'm sorry, missed the page. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount. Oh, no, back. I didn't. That's a noise, said the Grinch, that I simply must hear. So he paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear.
Yes, he did.
And he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, and it started to grow.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. And the sound wasn't sad, but it sounded merry. It couldn't be so. It wasn't merry, very, very. He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes. Then he shook. Then he saw in a shocking surprise. He was shocked. Every Who down in Whoville, the tot in the small, was singing without a presence at all.
What's wrong with you?
He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming at all. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same.
Yes, he did.
And the Grinch was the Grinch, feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzled and puzzled. How could this be so?
I don't know.
It came without ribbons, it came without bows, it came without packages, boxes, or bows. He puzzled 3 hours, till the puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas perhaps means a little bit more. See, he's thinking.
What should I?
Bet his head hurt.
Cool.
And what happened then? Well, in Whoville they say the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed like the road with his load through the bright morning light, and he brought back the toys and the food and the feast, and he even brought back
The roast beef.
he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beef.
Wow, that's hard to read like that the whole time, Mr.
Yes.
Grinch.
The end. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Great job, Grinch.
Okay, Phoenix fans, we're going to sing to you. Boys and girls, we can have a lot of fun with our cupcakes because guess what? You're supposed to be getting ready to go home right now.
No,
So, you may put one little bit. We're not going to make a mess. We're going to be very polite. Please don't eat until we sing to Miss Phoenix.
Okay.
Have